Hi, I am Marty Levinson. I deal with media bias issues against Israel. I hate it, and I want to cut it right out.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet Hope, Chicago. 2 is 4, 4 4 6. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you wanna go back to the lemon light?
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. www.ntnm.org, over 1/3 shows watched. CommunityPolicingCaps24.org. Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is chairman of the 24th District Advisory Committee. Oh, you know what? I wanted to congratulate CanTV on their new facilities, and I wanted to wish Barbara Popovic well in her retirement. You did a great job holding on for us, so we do appreciate that very much and all your efforts through the years. Thank you. It is a pleasure to introduce you to somebody who will soon be the ex, but for now the present, Executive Director nationally of Honest Reporting. That's Gary Kenzer.
How are you?
Good, Gary. How are you?
Great to be back again, as usual.
My pleasure. And tell me, how is Honest Reporting doing?
Well, we are doing great. It's actually after 10 years with the agency, I decided it's time for me to calm down, not have to spend 80% of my month traveling anymore. It's hard. Travel is very hard. It's very time consuming and it wears on the body.
Definitely.
And so it gives me a chance to sort of step back. We've reorganized the organization. We now have an office in New York. The Skokie office is officially closed as of today. So there's still one organization. And what it allows me to do, though, is with all the years of experience doing public awareness programs for Israel, I'm now able to go off on my own and do these kinds of programs that I've done over the last 10 years, but now do them on my own. So I'll be able to use the best of the resources from all different kinds of organizations, plus dabble a little bit into the political side of the anti-Israel.
Yeah, because being a 501c3, you're not able to say the things I can say.
100%. You've come close with me, teasing me many times. So I've tried to stay away.
I do my best that way.
So now it'll give me a chance, and we'll continue to have this relationship that we always did.
For sure. So we're more than happy to have you on the show. And by the way, more honest political talk. By the way, in today's shoot, we also had Amy Stokin of AJC, and Peggy Shapiro, and Zev Khan, who's also a very pro-Israel guy. Yeah, all 501c3s, so there's a limit to what they can say. Not me, but that's
soon
another
story. Not me either.
No, that'll be great. We can talk very honestly about, well, I'm not even going to allude to it or hint or tease. But you know what? One of the things you were telling me that you guys are getting more involved in, it's becoming more and more of a viral world.
Well, it's very true. You know, you really look at the news and how do people get their news today? I'll give you an example. Last night, I was at a synagogue in Long Grove, and I spoke to a 7th and 8th grade class, just to show you. It's a wonderful group. And I asked them, how do you get your news? And they all looked at each other, so I thought, okay, what kind of a stupid question was this that I said? And one kid got up and said, how do you think everybody gets their news today? This is a 7th grader.
Okay.
I said, tell me how. Facebook. That's how they get their news. Not by TV, not by radio, not by newspaper, but by Facebook. So you really think about how viral the whole social media sector of communications is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and then it's funny.
Scary.
No, it's true, because you know what? The fact is, when I'm on Facebook, and I use it really for business, and I try not to get real personal on there,
right.
or don't get overly political either, because frankly, there's no percentage of that there.
Right.
There's a lot of stories I'll click on that'll lead me to link to link to link. And yeah, and then there were accusations earlier of them filtering things the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they were somewhat prejudiced along that line. Although, by the way, speaking of Israel, and at least I'll give Zuckerberg credit for giving, what, $500 million for desalinization to Ben Gurion University.
Very impressive. Very impressive. But I'll tell you, you know, you take a look at the election that just took place, and you look at the viral aspect of the election. It's an interesting, whether you like one character or the other who ran for the candidacy.
How about neither?
I pick option C, huh? Oops,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to say that yet.
Okay.
But it's really true. If you think about it, that the viral aspect of the election really showed so prominent this time. On top of it, studies have actually proven that the amount of mainstream news that was coming out and was being forwarded and shared on Facebook actually went down towards the last 2 months of the election.
Interesting.
And the fake news that was coming through some source, and nobody knows exactly where it came from, was actually being shared more and more and more.
And by the way, that's still the case today after the election. If you take a look at the stories that are coming out ripping either one of these guys, these are stories from a journalistic standpoint that would never be allowed to publish. I would never be allowed to publish.
Never.
You're looking at single source, you're talking about hearsay, you're talking about nothing definite, but something hits the web, and the fact is, it's people, there's too many people that are so polarized over that election that people want to believe everything bad they hear. The Hillary people want to believe everything bad they hear about Trump, and the Trump people want to believe everything bad they hear about Hillary.
Absolutely. So look at what happened. People were totally confused. People didn't know what was going on. And so,
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have nominated either one of them.
so quite frankly, and this election was really won, for whatever you like, good or bad, through the internet. It really was an internet election. In terms
and
of how people,
Trump exemplified how little money you can actually spend. You know, leave it to a billionaire to show you how to
save money.
cheapskate it.
Yeah, how to save money. So it's one of the things that Honest Reporting has been significant, done a lot of work over the years, which is getting more involved in the social media component of the news, and how, you know, if you share something via email, you get 10, 15, 20 people. But if you share it online through social media, it starts the conversation, and it gets the conversation going. You know, people always say to me, you know, you're preaching to the audience. You know, you're preaching to the choir, rather.
Yeah.
Why don't you preach to the people that don't like Israel, for example? And the reality is that when you start putting stuff out on the internet, you're really starting to preach to those people. You're starting a conversation everywhere. And that's why we really encourage people to use social media, but use it wisely, not to be silly about it too. So, you know, you're a very good user of social media.
Thank you.
So the news is very viral. And it was so stark last night when these kids told me that that's how they get the news. 7th graders. Can you believe that? I find that
Actually, I can, and I'm not happy about it, but I can believe it.
I'm not happy about it either, but I think we can hide our heads underneath the sand, or we could say, okay, they're telling us loud and clear, this is the generation coming up. We better react and be on top of the situation.
By the way, that's a really good point, and the fact is that's so necessary. You have to, you know, people who don't continually adjust what they're doing throughout their lifetime are going to get lost so quickly.
Easy.
Yeah.
You know, the news is so viral. Look at how people get the news. The second way that these kids, 7th grader, got their news,
Yeah.
their iPhones and their Android phones.
Oh, and yeah, that's great because you'll get a whole 50 words if you're lucky.
You know, I was just reading in the paper on my phone through one of the newspapers that the Google accounts were all hacked. Like 79 million Google accounts were hacked from Android users just yesterday, from a malware that's starting to attack.
Thank God I don't have a cell phone.
Yeah. So, you know, you really think about it, and this is how we are passing information on from one person to the other today.
No, it's true, and it's so, people, you know what? It's like both sides are so wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So You know, we can say it's wrong to share information on your phone. It's wrong to read it on Facebook. But in reality, this is the direction we're heading.
Yeah, and they're going to do it increasingly more so because it's just easier. It's like, you know, if I started to get into an argument with somebody that they really should not be watching television news at all.
Correct.
Which, you know, and they'll say, well, where am I supposed to get my news? And, you know, like I'll tell them, read newspapers, plural, because one isn't enough.
Correct.
And they'll tell you, that's too much work. I said, well, you know what? It's okay to not be informed. Just realize you're not informed. And even if you're reading, like, for instance, one of my least, well, actually, what I would is it my least favorite newspaper? Close. The New York Times, who is either winner or second place every year
In our
in honest reporting,
dishonest
reporting
Yeah.
thing. You know what? I try to tell people. Well, first of all, I do actually read more New York Times stories than the New York Times subscribers, but I'll go to Real Clear Politics and do it.
Okay, but you know, too many people who are Israel advocates don't want to read the other side of the story also. And that's not safe.
That's wrong.
That is incredibly wrong. If you want to be a good advocate, whatever the other side of the issue you debate, you need to know the other side of the issue. I mean, how do you debate in school? You always get the side of the subject that you're interested in?
No, as a matter of fact, I love debating class. And
I did too.
And our subject was national health care, as a matter of fact, the year I did that.
How relevant is that today?
And you had to argue both sides.
And how do you know both sides? You have to study it intimately from the other perspective,
Right.
even if it makes you uncomfortable.
And, you know, and it's funny because there are actually years where I think it's a good idea and years I think it's a bad idea because circumstances change too.
100%. So we really encourage people to read both sides of the story. So here I am dealing with media bias against Israel, and I'm encouraging people to read stuff that's pro-bias against Israel. Okay, it sounds kind of hard to understand that.
Right.
But I encourage people, pick your poison, whatever it is. There's plenty of it out there. But know the other perspective so that you can argue the point with power. Information is power. If you have no power, generally it's because you lack information.
No, that's true. I still remember I went to Northwestern to see a nationwide debate between various, I mean, like Harvard was there and Yale was there and
amazing.
All these big schools. It's funny because there was a law school in California called Redlands, and they by far, it didn't matter which side of that subject they take. They would wipe out whoever it was. Ivy League, you know, whatever. They wiped everybody out.
Wow. Well, you know, the last thing I want to mention, because I see our time is starting to fly, is that when you look at a picture, you know, they say that a picture paints 1,000 words. And it really is a very true statement. So you look online and you look at pictures and you want to say, something's not right about that picture. How do I check where the source came from the picture? You know how to do that?
Actually, I do, but I'm one of the few. In my particular case, you actually can click on the picture and try to source it.
Bingo. Right-click on the picture, and it'll give you like a long URL. You put that into a Google image search document, and it'll tell you exactly the source. And one after another, we find that pictures that say they're one thing are completely the opposite.
And that's not a big surprise at all to me because people misuse things like there's no tomorrow.
And how would you know?
And so few people check, you wouldn't.
People don't.
And people depend, and you know what? And you know, the propagandists depend on you not
100%.
going very far.
They depend on you to look at something, eye it, and go on to the next thing. Because today...
Yeah, you'll get so easily distracted by the, you know, right underneath it'll say, like there'll be a picture of some, you know, half-naked somebody saying 35 most beautiful whatever.
Right.
And you're busy clicking on that and you've already accepted that other part into your brain as fact when it's completely fiction.
It's absolutely true. So this is a sample, again, a taste of what we talk about at all of these programs that we do all over the country.
You know, it's so important because I try so hard to tell people myself, like, you're being manipulated. You don't even begin to understand.
And you wouldn't know it unless you consciously stop and reevaluate what you're reading and what you're seeing with your eyes.
Yeah, in my case, it's like part of it is business and what I do, and understanding how people can be manipulated, and even though I try not to, and I hope I don't, it's so easy, it's not even funny.
Right. So I encourage people to continue to be in contact with me. I'm going to continue to do these programs all over the country, but I'm going to do them based upon when I want to do them, quite frankly. And Chicago's been a great place to be, and I've been born and raised in Chicago. So call me.
Okay, and contact information?
gkenzer@gmail.com.
Gary Kenzer, thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck in your future endeavors, and we'll have you back on.
Deal.